Morning, Kentucky. We're back in the backyard. It's a little nippy today. It was 85 yesterday. I think it's going to make 50 today, maybe. And we had a hellacious storm, which I don't know if you can see behind me, but we lost a tree from there all the way to the end. We had 80-mile-an-hour straight line winds come across here on Sunday night, and pretty scary. Um, but we had everything covered that we had to cover. Our peach and pears, and we're all in blossom. Um, not many blossoms left. 80 mile an hour will take blossoms right off a tree. Um, so that's just part of spring. It's especially in Kentucky. You just never can tell. So today we're going to talk about soil. Um, like I said before, I'm not a technical person. I don't talk technical. Um, but I think that most of us most of us have decent soil, unless you're just riddled with clay. But we were always taught to rototill, get it all churned up, make it soft. But all you're doing is ruining the structure of the soil. Now, today, you know, this is what works for us. Um, we've been gardening for years, tried to rototill, which never really worked very well. And and until we found no-till or no dig. And no dig is a kind of a strategy for making the soil um, vibrant, alive, full of nutrients, full of microorganisms, fungi, bugs, and worms, and that's what nature planned. Now, if you look in my woods over here, I guarantee if you dug a hole, that's some of the richest soil because it has leaves and wood breaking down, and worms and all kinds of stuff. And then we plant a garden and we rototill it and ruin that, and then we expect the plants to grow in it. And we don't use pesticides, we don't use fertilizer. um, we rely totally on compost. um, but not saying that our gardens in the wintertime we cover them up with leaves and pine needles and the stuff that came from our yard, and we cover them as a mulch. And as the winter goes through, some of that breaks down, some of it doesn't. But there's still plenty of things going on. And when you rake the leaves off and there's all kinds of worms, you did something right. So I don't know if you noticed before when I showed you, um, we just rake it where we are going to plant. So we don't want to disturb it any more than we have to. And we really don't dig a hole. Potatoes, you don't have much choice. Dig a hole, but you know, don't try to aerate it. Don't try to fork it. We did double digging for years, and the concept was great. But now I think there's a lot more, a lot better ways to do it. So on our left is our compost pile. Now we have 3 composts, 1, 2, 3. That one's holding cardboard right now, but they're half full, and we've been filling them all winter. And you just keep filling them up. Um, Grass clippings. Uh, we got pine cones, cardboard, paper towels, toilet paper rolls, coffee grounds. What else we got in here? Anything, any kitchen scrap. We put all our weeds in there. Um, Anything green, because you gotta have a ratio of brown and green. Now if we had a big market garden and you could just, you know, make a foot of green and a foot of dry, a foot of brown, that's fine. But we don't have that, so you know, we do whatever we can. It breaks down, um, and turns into nice compost, and it's free. And you know, anything out of the kitchen, eggshells, banana peels, even even crab legs. No other meat, no dairy, but crab legs work. Don't ask me why. They disappear quick too. And so anything you have, peels, you know, anything in the kitchen. Um, Cardboard, not the shiny kind. You know, anything that has a shine on it, that goes to the recycle or trash, wherever that goes. So, but and we also have, I don't know if you can see this or not. This is hard when you don't have a cameraman, but this is a composter too. And you know, you put your stuff in there, and then you spin it once a day. And then, you know, you dig in, and this is what you got. So it's not great. It's not totally broke down, but it's pretty good for what it started out to be. So, uh, so you can either, you know, but it takes 6 months, 8 months, a year. We have never perfected the hot compost. Um, Ours just kind of sits there, I guess, because we don't have the right ratio, but it still works out nice. And we use it for everything. You know, when we plant our tomatoes, we put a little blob of compost underneath it, plant the plant on top, has no tons of nutrients. Um, that way you'll never have to use fertilizer. And the only fertilizer we use um, is fish emulsion. Um, and you buy it in a bottle, and you mix a tablespoon with a gallon of water, and it smells like, but it it boosts anything, but it's totally natural. And you know, there's all kinds of natural fertilizers out there. Just don't get 10-10-10 artificial. Kind of ruins the whole concept. If you're going to try to get healthier, you're trying to grow natural, great tasting food and then throw chemicals on it. So um, try to stay away from that. Hopefully you have your box, your garden in mind, what you're going to do. Um, so I want to show you the one up front, the big one, the new one, and what we did there, and how easy it is. And you know, if you got to buy compost, you got to buy compost. It matters how much you put on it. Now we're in the cycle of putting an inch of compost on a year, and you can put it in the fall, which is the best time because wintertime. But unlike chemical fertilizers, it doesn't wash off. You know, all the chemical doesn't. If you're using um, Miracle-Gro or whatever, you know, the rain will slowly wash it away and it'll be gone. That's why we have the weird things at the lakes going on with green, whatever it's called. Um, so I'm going to take you up there, show you what we did. We're starting to plant our brassicas, which are cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kohlrabi, uh, onions you can plant. Potatoes are already in; they're not coming up yet. You know, the weather, they know when to come up, and they know what they're doing. You just have to keep an eye on it, and you're going to see in my yard there's covers everywhere because I just took them off the water and this morning. Um, because not only does uh, you know, we do the covers brassicas, that's where your white butterfly comes in, and it comes and sits on your cabbage and lays eggs, and then the eggs turn into little caterpillars, and then all of a sudden you look and your cabbage plant looks like a colander. You know, you can't, you got to cover them, and that's the best way, and to keep the butterflies off. And so we and also, you know, we've had wind every day, like all winter, I think. and it dries them out so fast. We're putting small seedlings in about this big, and uh, the wind will dry them out and knock them over. And we don't have 80s every day, but or 80 miles per hour every day, but a good 20 will turn all your little plants over. So we cover them up. Um, they've been in the greenhouse. They got started, and um, you should have a place kind of gets them out of the direct sun and to harden them off before you put them outside. We just take the other approach. It's already in a greenhouse. It knows what sun is, so we cover them up with a frost cloth. So uh, from there, I'll take you up front and we'll check that out later. It's Bob. He's back, and I want to say one thing. That little greenhouse behind me. Um, if you planned on getting a greenhouse, look back at one of my videos on how to secure a greenhouse. That big giant tree there didn't make through 80 miles an hour, but my greenhouse did. So it's strapped down, and I'm proud of myself. So the whole time the storm, I was waiting for the greenhouse and all our plants to be rolling across the field. So okay, we're the other direction now, and what I want to show you, you can see that we're just filling this up with uh, old soil, grass, whatever we're digging up. Um, but the whole thing is you start out with cardboard on the bottom. Now this was placed on just straight grass. No digging, no roundup, none of that junk. Put the cardboard down, leave it, a couple inches around the outside so it kills it all the way. And then put your box, and then start filling it with whatever you got to start with. Compost is $2.50, under $3 a bag, but it still takes a lot of bags. So, um, we some of our plants that didn't make it in the garage that we brought in, we just throw them in there, and then so this one here, and I'll show you a picture before and after. Um, Before is when it's just an empty box. And then this picture is we filled it with logs, sticks, um, brush, whatever, to get it up the first 8-10 inches, and then we filled the rest with compost. Um, but there's leaves and all the junk that came off the other beds are in there. It's all working, it's all working. But compost is just natural fertilizer. You can see the cover laying next to it. I had this covered up. Um, we just planted these yesterday, and my wife grew these in the greenhouse. You got cabbage, and Romanesco is a real cool broccoli. Um, and then we put some onions in there. We got some carrots started in there. We got some, um, if you don't know what a kohlrabi is, and I say this almost every video, um, you got to at least buy it out of the grocery and eat it once, and then grow your own after that. But so it's as easy, and this is a square foot garden. Um, so all I did was put a thumbtack on each foot line, take a string, wrap it around, and it gives you a whole different idea of gardening, because like the ones on the corners, they're going to get big. Um, so we put the big ones on the corner so they kind of go over the edge, and then the carrots are in the middle, and kohlrabi, and then the broccoli here and there, and some onions. So um, it's going to be crowded, but that's the fun part. So, all we did was fill it up with compost or fill it up with whatever you got. Um, if you're going to use, a friend of ours, he asked me how to do this. He went and got the dirt that was in his yard, and then in a month, his whole garden was full of weeds. And he was really frustrated with the whole thing. So, um, start with compost. You get a few weeds. I mean, we've been weeding this one. I've been weeding the aisleways here today. But um, so get on your phone and say, what's the spacing on a cabbage plant? And they'll tell you, 18, 24 inches, whatever. And then every plant you put in there, ask. And, if you don't want all brassicas, you want to put tomatoes and peppers and all that kind of stuff. You put one per square. And it's so fun. Last year, this was a fun garden. This was my kids' garden. My kids are in their 30s now, but I thought it would be fun. And right now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we put some peas at the end that are bush type, so they won't overrun the whole thing. But last year we had tomatoes, peppers, onions, cucumbers. Got 40 cucumbers off of that, right up that trellis there, and there was flowers in there, zinnias in there. Um, it was a hoot, man, and to 2x4 square. So if that's all you got time for, and that's all you want to do, you can do that, and it's really easy. So, and I know we haven't weeded this. I mean, this is compost from last year, and it's right flat on the ground in the middle of the yard. Cardboard, box, compost. Have fun. Good evening from Kentucky. It's Bob in his front yard. It's so windy back there you can't even hear yourself. So um, I just want to say appreciate you watching the video, and uh, you know stay on our journey with us this year. We want to go over um, estimated frost date and what zone you're in, and um, some of the crops you want to plant that are easy or not easy, and we can figure out when they got to go in. Timing is the key on this. So if you got, hopefully you got some kind of box. You got one thing I did miss, I guess, that we use compost not only out of our box, but we buy it, and it's compost and manure combined, and it's only $2.59 a bag. You can get a lot more expensive than that, but we'd rather not. And you can get chicken manure. You can get, here comes the wind. You can get chicken manure. You can get mushroom compost. There's all kinds of stuff, but cheap stuff works. So why pay a big price? So get that stuff together, and next week we'll have another video, and see if we can't get you on the next step and get you excited. I hope you're looking forward to this, and as much as we are. So, uh, and then we'll say later. We'll catch you again later.